I've been in the real estate media industry for like 12 years now, and I hear a lot of things that aren't true about the industry. And so in this video, I want to break down what I think are, from here, the 5 biggest myths that I hear all the time about real estate media that either prevent people from getting started, or for people that already have a real estate photo business, prevent them from like taking it to the next level. Because I think there's a lot of things you can do in this industry. And it's an awesome industry. I've spent my entire business career so far in this industry, whether it was building my agency at first or now owning the agency that has a team in place and coaching other people to grow their real estate media businesses. These things stop a lot of people. And so if your goal is to build a real estate media business or take it to the next level, I don't want these to stand in your way. So the first thing, and this is definitely more so something that people who are newer to real estate media coming from other types of photography really mess up. They think that because the invoices in real estate media are relatively small, I mean, $300-400 a shoot, sometimes they're more, but sometimes they're less too, and it kind of depends on what market you're in. They see that number and they're like, well, why would you ever shoot real estate? Weddings could pay $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $8,000. And that's absolutely true. Weddings can pay that much. What you have to keep in mind though, and the thing that's allowed me to build my business, is real estate media is all about the volume. You can just do a lot of shoots. So weddings, right? You might, if you're really busy and you're a little crazy, you might be able to shoot a wedding like 2 on a weekend, right? Like a Friday and a Saturday, or Saturday and a Sunday, but that's a lot of work. Real estate media, not the case, right? I mean, you could shoot Saturday and Sunday if you want, but most real estate photographers are able to do like 3 to 4 shoots a day. I mean, the ones that get booked, right? 3 to 4 shoots a day every single business day. And that means, if you're charging $400 a shoot, you can see it's, not out of the ordinary for a real estate photographer to be able to bill, $1,200 or $1,500 in a day. Sure, it's not every day, especially when you're first starting, but the potential is there. And so if you compare like one person's earning ability, a lot of times you'll see that the math just works out where it's higher with real estate media. And so you have to be very careful not to let the price of a single invoice give you the wrong idea about what it could be overall. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is basically market saturation and fear of competition. I think the best way for me to explain this, because I used to be really scared of competition, and I used to think it was going to be, I started my business in Granbury, Texas, which is a smaller town outside of like the bigger Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I used to remember, I can still remember the feeling is I was like, there's no way I can break into the DFW market. There's so many photographers up there. And really all that is fear of competition, right? So here's what I've learned about competition, at least in this industry. The people who are worried about it are the people who have either just started or have not started their real estate media business, or if they have, they're still in that newer phase. Because what everybody knows that's been in real estate photography for any length of time and has started to build their business, the competition is not the problem. And I don't mean this to like, dig at photographers in general, but if there is a group of people that you could choose to compete with, it would be photographers, because they're not known for being the best business people, right? And so I say that it's kind of like a funny thing to say, but it's also very true. So even if it was very saturated, my belief is that if you focus on the right stuff, it's very easy to quote unquote beat the competition, because you're competing with photographers. There's a reason the starving artist, that phrase exists, and it's not because there's a bunch of great business owners that get into photography. There are some. There's also a lot of people that are doing it for the art and the creativity, which is great, but they don't necessarily know how to run a business. And so you really don't want to let that fear prevent you from taking action, because then really what that was it was the competition, putting you out of business before you started. And so even in a market where you see, relatively a ton of saturation, some markets are, more saturated than others, you just have to be willing to compete and do the things that the other photographers are not willing to do. And for the vast majority of the time, that's very easy to do, because photographers are not good business people, right? So you compete on stuff they're not. They spend all their time on gear and settings and equipment. You should spend all your time, at least if you want to grow, on getting clients. And once you get those clients, like just doing client acquisition, right? It's like something so many people just don't spend time doing. They think, hey, if I improve my photos, I'm going to grow my business. And that's just not always true, right? Or most of the time it isn't true. So that's what they're focused on. You focus on, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to spend as much time as possible doing client acquisition, whether that's the Instagram method I teach or whatever you want to do, you do it more. The other thing is, once you get the client, do stuff that the other photographers aren't willing to do. I hear so many crazy stories when I was building Norman and Young, and from the people I coach now. And here's a good one just for an example. There was a real estate photography company, a pretty big company in the area where my business operates. And they had a rule where if the AC wasn't on in the house, they wouldn't do the shoot. And so if they got there and the AC was off, I mean, I get it, it's Texas, it's kind of hot, right? They would cancel the shoot. Well, that was ridiculous. You know, we shoot for a lot of new construction. Sometimes the AC is not in yet. And sure, it's 85 degrees inside the house, but that's fine. Plenty of people work outside where it's 100. So like, I'm not too good to do that. There was one where the photographer saw a fox in the backyard and they wouldn't go out in the back. And it's like, dude, I get it. You know, if it's unsafe, don't proceed. But it's a fox, it's like 20 pounds and it ran away, you know? And so those are the crazier ones, but there's a lot of more everyday ones where, you know, photographers get kind of irritated at agents. They start to not like their clients. You know, one of our company values in my business is we love our clients because it's important to us to remember, it's important to me to remember, because I get irritated at clients too sometimes, that those clients are why you have the business you do, why you get to do something awesome for a living. And so the bigger point here is don't worry about market saturation unless you're not willing to serve your clients well. And if you're willing to serve your clients well, there are so many people that are looking for an option, looking for a photographer, a photo business that will. Okay, third myth, the photographers in my area charge $100. So it's not a myth, but here's what I don't want you to get wrong about it. Those are in every single market. We'll have people, you know, say to my team, yeah, I really want to do this, but I mean, it just doesn't work in my area. The photographers charge $100 in my area. And that's literally in every single real estate photography market, right? It's just, there are always those cheaper photographers. And so what you have to do is focus on not being that. So number one, it's not just photos that you're selling, right? So sure, maybe they only charge 100 in your market, but you can probably get away with charging 175, 200 bucks for photos. But that's pretty normal, right? Where we make our money as real estate photographers is all the other services that we offer. So photos, videos, 3D tours, drone stuff, floor plans, twilight photos, like video, I think I said that, but there are like a million add-ons. And so don't look up all the competition and go, oh, there it is, the $100 photographer, because we have $100 photographers in our market and we don't charge 100 bucks. And all of the people that we work with, at least the vast majority of them, there's $100 photographers. They're generally cheap photographers. Remember, if you think about it in the big picture, if you were a real estate agent, let's say you're listing a house, right? You're gonna get, you know, for $1 million house, or let's make it even smaller, for a $400,000 house, you're getting 15K in commission, roughly, right? Changes, so what? Little fluctuations. Would you rather have, that's on a smaller house too. I mean, a couple $1 million house could be over 100 grand in commission pretty easily, or a few hundred grand. If you're doing that and you're trying to build your brand, are you gonna try to save $40 of that, you know, lower commission, that 15 or 10K commission, and risk it with a photographer who isn't really good service? No, and so that's where we compete. We charge more, but we also, because of that, we can stay a little longer at the shoot. Instead of having to be out in 20 minutes to make a living, or spending longer and not making a good living and being irritated at our clients, we're able to spend a little bit more time, be a little more thoughtful, and provide a level of service that their clients, you know, the people like who live in the house go, oh wow, that photographer was great. Oh, Ashley's photographer was great. That's what the agent wants, and they're willing to pay a little bit more. So saturation's not an issue if you deliver in a way that allows you, you're selling value, not, you know, the product itself or just the cost. You're not selling price, you're selling value. So, okay, number 4, my market won't work. I'm gonna go over this one really quickly, but it's a common one I hear. People either say their market's too big or too small. The only time a market is too small is if there's less than 50,000 people in generally a 1-hour driving radius. Now, sometimes it can still work. The market I started in, and actually was able to scale and get a couple of photographers in, I think had right around there, maybe slightly less. If you look it up, it says like 13,000, but that's not true. There's a bigger area around it. And that was before we spread to the DFW area. So the market being too small can be a factor if you're in the middle of nowhere, but if you're in any sort of reasonably sized city, the market is there, and the next step I want you to do is go to Zillow and just look up your city and see if there's any real estate photos being shot. You'll notice probably if you're in an area with more than 50,000 people, tons of listings, hundreds and in some cases thousands of listings, and those listings are what you're gonna be shooting. So market too small is not a problem. Market too big, people, I think when they say market too big, they're just worried about competition. So I'm not gonna go into that more because we already kind of talked about that, but don't too quickly exclude your market. Like, do a little bit more research, and there'll be a link below this video where you can talk with my team. That's, you know, part of why we have the call is we want to dive into your market and make sure that what we can help you with works if you're interested in our launch program, which is for people just starting. So if you have questions about your market, you can do that. Then lastly, number 5, my favorite one is I'm gonna kind of take this two different ways. So it's generally like, I'm not skilled enough, I don't have enough gear, I don't have, whatever it is, the time to become better with real estate photography. The thing you'll learn very quickly about real estate photography is it's absolutely not about the skill. And here's where this can play in a little bit with people that have already, started and grown a real estate media company. We all start this business not knowing a lot about real estate media, and so we over deliver on the client side of things. We're smiley, we have great service, we don't charge for reshoot fees, or if they have to cancel it, like we're out of our way trying to do the best customer service possible, and then our businesses grow really quickly. But a little thing happens after 8K a month, 10K a month, or whenever it is for you, you start learning how to be a real estate photographer. And the problem with that is then you shift your focus from, hey, I don't know anything about real estate photography, so I'm gonna serve my clients really well, to I know stuff about real estate photography and there's more I need to learn, and so I'm really gonna divert my attention to getting better at real estate photography. And then your business plateaus or stalls. You start losing clients, maybe clients aren't as happy with you, and you're like, what the heck is going on? My photos are better. And it's like, yes, your photos are better, but you diverted attention from your photos to the things, or from the things that the clients actually care about to your photos, and that's a huge mistake. Like, you can mess up your business doing that. That's why you'll see people like stall at 8, 10, 15K a month or whatever they stall at. So you have to remember, the reason a lot of people grow so quickly when they jump into real estate media is because they don't know a lot about it. And so they buy really cheap gear. They have to get started, right? Everybody's got to start with something, and they focus all on the client. And so you can kind of reverse engineer that. Whether you're someone that's watching on day one, you're like, I don't know what to do. Great, you don't need to have a ton of skill to successfully shoot real estate. It's really simple. Like, I have videos on it. It's very simple, right? The thing that is complicated is once you learn it, you will have this desire to become more of like a quote unquote artist, or like get more complicated, pay for more expensive gear, change your workflow. And it's like, nothing is bad about that. I think you should create the best product that you can, within the constraints of the price you're charging, but you don't want to let it distract you from what clients actually care about. And so I hope those were helpful, especially if you're newer to real estate media. This is an awesome industry. I'm a little biased. It's the only thing I've ever done. I've spent 12 years in it, but I've been able to build, great agency doing real estate media, and I've been able to help a lot of people do this for themselves via Real Estate Photographer Pro, my coaching program. And so I love this industry, and I hate it when people, there's misinformation out there. It's not like an active effort. It's just like people look from the outside and they haven't been in it, and so they say things or believe things that aren't true. And so hopefully this video corrected that. If you want to jump into real estate media or just want to talk a little bit more about what that would look like for you and your market, we'd love to help you. There's a link below where you can talk to my team. We can share what we do in coaching too. So we'd love to talk with you about that, and see you in the next video.